You're listening to the Fantasy Fling Podcast. Take a break from the season-long commitment and join us as we give you the newest and hottest DFS deals, preview the DFS main slate, and take the dreadful walk of shame. Here are your hosts, Brandon and Eric.
Welcome in, everyone.
Hey. Another day, another dollar.
Thank you for joining us. We are talking the Week 12 Turkey Day Slate. Doing a little different this year. We are going to focus on the main slate come Friday on Making a Millie. So we'll give you our cash build, and then we'll go right into our GPP builds for the Millie Maker. But we're going to do, of course, a quick recap of Week 11, give you our hot plays, our walk of shame. This one should be good. It's going to be a little different than we normally do. So, stay tuned as we'll get into the walk of shame. I got something I got to get off my chest. So, but let's talk about it, Eric. Week 11, you killed it in cash.
Dude, not so much in tournaments, but cash was good to me. But that, the beauty about that is that it paid for my tournament losses and then some. So I'm happy.
No doubt about it, man. For me, I was sweating it in cash this past week, but it was one of those weeks that had me tilting because I just my quarterback, like I chose Burrow, and basically as soon as the game started, I was like, God, why did I choose Burrow? And then just watching that game, and I was just tilting. I'm like, he's got negative points. He's got 1 point. He's got like 5 points. He's going to crash all my lineups because I had tournament lineups with him. I using my cash quarterback. Miserable week in cash, but yet I still found a way to cash. So we will get into that in our hot plays, but we'll start it out with the hot plays of Week 12. Week 11, sorry. Quarterbacks, Rodgers. So this was the game to stack last week. If you spent all your time stacking the Cowboys and the Chiefs, sorry, you probably didn't win any money last week. But if you stack this game in any way you could, but really, like if you really heavily stack this, like I saw it was just like a stupid stack. One of the guys who works for FanDuel, I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but he had Rodgers, Adams, NVS, and I believe he had Jefferson and Cook on the other side, who won like $17,000 in some tournament. Like it was just one of those games where you could just go crazy with the stacks. Or no, maybe it was Jefferson and Thielen on the other side. And normally you just be like, dude, that's a little heavy, but it worked. This is why we stack, because all it takes is that one game to just shoot off, and you have so many pieces of it, and it just elevates you above the entire field to the top of the leaderboard. So Rodgers, 36 points. Hurts, he's a great fantasy football quarterback. There's no doubt about it. I mean, you can't question it, and he's definitely making strides as an NFL quarterback. So
that's 3 weeks in a row that he's looked like a legit NFL quarterback. Yeah. Like I was calling him Bortles, man. I was calling him like comparison to Bortles. Like, he doesn't do anything till the fourth quarter. 3 weeks in a row, he's looked good. So I'm eating crow. Yeah,
for sure, man. Well, that's what we do on this show. That's why we take a walk of shame. We don't have all the answers. And third, Cousins. I saw a meme earlier. It was like the only guy to have like 21 touchdowns and 2 interceptions, and yet nobody cares because it's Cousins. Like third, 28 points.
I'm really happy they beat the Packers, honestly. I was rooting for the Vikings, by the way, just FYI. Just got to throw that out there. Yeah. Because they've lost so many close games. I was pulling for them.
Yeah, and a little preview, a little sneak peek, by the way. The guy who finished second in the Millie Maker this past week, he had a Cousins, Jefferson, Thielen stack. And if he had been smart about his defense that he picked, he would have won the Millie Maker with a Cousins, Jefferson, Thielen stack. But anyways, the guy that won the Millie Maker actually had a Cam stack. Cam and Tremble, he was like less than 1% owned. Like, it was one of those weeks in the Millie Maker that it was just like, you just look at the lineup, it was kind of stupid, but you had a couple of the right people, and of course we will break that down for you and make it in a Millie this Friday. And then fifth, Simeon. Dude, how the hell does Trevor Simeon get in the top 5 fantasy quarterbacks on DraftKings 2 weeks in a row? Like,
I have 2 words.
What is going on?
Time.
Yes.
That's how.
This is very true. This is very true. Simeon does throw a pretty ball, and yeah, he's definitely the king of garbage time. He's going to take what the defense gives him, make nice completions, throw a pretty ball. Not going to win you games, but yeah, playing from behind, he'll produce some fantasy points. And then just an honorable mention, Herbert would have been the top dog last week with 38 points, but he was out. He was not on the main slate as he was in prime time. Running backs, Eric. So this is like the definition of bittersweet, right? Because on the Fantasy Fling, making a milli on Friday, we talked about it. I literally put out a sound clip on Twitter of me saying, Jonathan Taylor, not a good matchup, but all it takes is one play because he's going to get the volume that he can have that type of ceiling. Well, it was a lot more than one play because he just ran wild all over Buffalo. He didn't give a shit about the matchup, and he scored 56 points. What's crazy about that, he scored 56 points. He produced almost 7x on a salary, dude. He was 8,300 and produced almost 7x on a salary.
Crazy, man.
Unreal. That's your boy.
Mean, he's reached. That's my boy, Blue. He's reached the point of there's a lot of skepticism, or not a lot, but there was some coming in like saying, hey, Hines is going to eat into his workload. I think it's at the point now, and has been for like the last. I mean, basically since last year of Week 10, he's basically become like a workhorse back, and there's not many of them. And he's produced. He's good in the passing game. He's good in the running game. He's just all around. He's even when they were up by like 20 some odd points, he shouldn't have been in the game, but they put him in again. He got another touchdown. So. He should. I was surprised he was still in the game. I have him as many leagues as I can, and I kept seeing the notifications. I was surprised how long they kept him in, but good on him. I'm happy for him. Who was it? That was Jay Glazer actually said he actually had a scholarship. It was either to Yale or Harvard, one of the two. I apologize, I forget which one, and actually turned it down because he wanted more of an opportunity to play football. So that just goes to show you the guy's incredibly smart as well.
Yeah, well, I tweeted this out the other day, but like we knew it was heading there, but he has fully like arrived as that type of ceiling to break a slate. Like you finally saw it. You knew he was heading there, but he was there. Like this is against Buffalo. Dude goes off for 50 points. This is Dalvin Cook at his best. This is Kamara at his best. This is Christian McCaffrey at his best. Like this is that type of elite player that can just break a slate. And I mean, if you look at the Millie Maker winning lineup from last week, it's pretty much disgusting. Like outside of like a few players, like you're like, this won it all. Yeah, when Dalvin Cook or when Taylor JT scores 56 points, that'll do it. But
he's got to be 101, right? 101 next year.
Absolutely. 102. In redraft and dynasty for sure.
Yeah. McCaffrey maybe. I don't know. He's up there, but he's got to be in the top three.
He's 101 in all formats as far as I'm concerned. A second guy, Mixon. So I have him in redraft, and I went back and forth on this in my Millie Maker winning build. Well, not winning build. My Millie Maker build. 27 points from Mixon. I couldn't decide. Basically, him and A.J. Brown, Arthur Juan Brown, they were like identical in price. And I think they were $100 away from one another, and I had like $100 to spare. So I went back and forth. Do I play AJB? Do I play Mixon? I played Arthur Juan Brown. Cost me 18 points. So I would have hit the cash line in the Millie Maker had I played Mixon, but it is what it is. It sucks, though, because I had exposure to everyone last week on this list except for Jonathan Taylor. And even though I felt like he could hit, I was like, for this salary, he's probably going to have like a 20 to 25 point game, like max. And I was just more heavy on Dalvin Cook. So that's how it goes. But DeAndre Swift, he was third, 25 points. And then we got Chubb right after him. Same thing. I had a lot of exposure to Chubb, 25 points. Good day. Same with Christian McCaffrey. I had a lot of exposure to him. Fifth, 24 points. And he would have had a much bigger day, I'm sure, if Cam wasn't the quarterback. But that's kind of how it goes. these guys, all 2nd to 5, all had a great day. But if you didn't have Jonathan Taylor, you didn't win any tournaments last week. That's just how it went, plain and simple. And then honorable mention, Eckler would have been enough for second place with 41 points. Like, I saw some tweets on Sunday night. It was pretty funny. They were like, Eckler's going against Jonathan Taylor in fantasy this week, so he's coming for him a little bit. So, he got 41 points, but he wasn't on the main slate. So
he had a good game. He had a damn good game.
For sure. Colorado proud. By the way, we got a couple guys on the list from Colorado. Eckler and Christian McCaffrey. So, dude, at one point, Colorado, we talked about this before. At one point, Colorado had Phillip Lindsay, Christian McCaffrey, and Eckler all playing high school ball. It's pretty crazy to think about. And Lindsay could still play. He just needs to be on the right team.
He just got picked up by the Dolphins, so we'll see how that goes. Salvon Ahmed has been hurt, and Gaskin's not. I don't know, man. I'm not sure. He hasn't looked like himself since his first year, but we'll see what happens. I'm rooting for him. I'll be honest with you. I'm rooting for him. Let's move on to receivers, man. This may be the best receiver in the whole league at this point. I'm not sure, but he's damn good. Justin Jefferson, agree. 40 points, 40.2. Against the Packers, who have been shutting receivers down. The guy's a stud. He's really good. Mm-hmm. I mean, if you said that Adams or Hill's better, maybe, but he's got to be top 3. He's really damn good.
And I almost always have some Justin Jefferson exposure, but this past week, because I had Adams and I didn't really heavily stack that game, I did, but I had Cook on the other side, right? So it was like the one week where I was out on Jefferson and he blew up. Yeah, he had an okay game, but he didn't have a 40-point game.
True.
Jefferson's salary too.
Well, you never know with these divisional games, right? Like sometimes they're like a under 30-point like slugfest, and sometimes they just go off. You just never know. But
no doubt.
Speaking of the other guy I mentioned, Devonte Adams, another stud, 33.5 points. Great game for him as well. Elijah Moore. Yeah. He has. I think the last 3 games in a row, he's gone off. A lot of times we see rookies, more so running backs, but rookies in general, they do better in the second half of the season. It's like it slows down for them. They get it. They see it. 32.6 points. Elijah Moore again with another big game. Did not see Darnell Mooney hitting the list, 26 points. He is, even when Robinson was playing, that's been the number 1 receiver so far this year. Any way you look at it, which is kind of weird, but it's what it is. And then the number 5 guy, someone we talked about on the podcast. I know I had brought him up saying, "Hey, look, he takes a play or two." NVS, 25 points. So he's on the top 5 along with Adams. I know he did a lot less, but hey, we have Deontay Johnson would have finished 4th with 26 points, but he was not on the main slate as well. And then moving to the tight end position, which is often a crap show. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's not. A lot of times it's not. But, the guy who was picked up, moved on teams, Zach Ertz, 28 points, 28.8 against Seattle, who's, man, their offense is bad, their defense is bad. I don't know what to make of them. I know we talked about last week. I was like, look, teams bounce back. Rodgers bounced back. Wilson did not. So,
right.
You have Darren Waller finally having a great game, 21.6 points against the Bengals. You have Kelsey, pretty much always on the list, 18 points. Troutman, another guy that we had brought up. I saw a nice trajectory in his snap percentages, his receptions, his targets, everything. He finally has a great game and then gets hurt, goes on IR. And then you have also Mark Andrews, which he made it without Lamar Jackson, 15 points against Chicago. So good on him. And Dawson Knox just outside the top 5, 14 points. Good to see a rebound from him because the previous week he had 1 catch. So he's still pretty low this week. He's 4,400. And it might be the last week he's that cheap. Just throwing that out there.
Yeah.
And then defenses, man, back to you. Although the one we have listed as number 1, the Patriots, they played on Thursday night. So we can eliminate them. However, I believe the Eagles also scored 11 points. So we could be 5th.
Yeah. So the Texans would have been the top one versus Tennessee, and it's like, who saw that coming, right? I mean, it's all any given Sunday. It's like the movie. It's the old adage. Any given Sunday, these are professionals. They have a lot of pride. These coaches, for as much flack as we might give a lot of these coaches, in losing franchises, losing teams, they know how to game plan. So when you got a team like Tennessee, they've lost Derrick Henry, they've lost Julio Jones. You're just gonna double down on AJ Brown, and then he's gonna get hurt, and then that team's garbage. So like they can scheme to cause a lot of problems. And so the Texans were the top team with 16 points. So if you have, for example, the Chiefs with 15 points, they're second on the list, and nobody really thought that was going to happen. If just looking at that game last week, everyone was thinking it was going to shoot out, it was going to go over 60, 70 points. So the sure sign that it didn't is when you see the Chiefs coming in at number 2 with 15 points. It was just a disappointing game. If you had sacks, you watch your sacks die, it'd be dead in the water very quickly.
Yes.
Yeah, the Bucks, same thing. So we'll go over the Lions versus Cleveland. I felt like that was a good defensive play at their price. I think they were like 2,100. I mean, they were dirt cheap going against Baker. And, Baker has problems with fans giving him shit because he thinks he's a fucking MVP. Dude, Baker's not any good. Like, he just never has been. He's just not, dude, that team, you got Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt toting the rock. Granted, Hunt's hurt, but 2 really good running backs. Mm-hmm. Like, how hard is your life as a quarterback to throw the ball? It's not hard.
They've absolutely carried him, no question.
Yeah. So, the Lions, dude. In fact, the dude who came second in the Millie Maker, if he had just played the Lions defense, he would have won. He would have won it all.
I will say that was my big ball play of the week.
Yeah. The Lions?
Yes.
I agree. I like it,
I
Eric.
mentioned that as a play because it's like, look, they're playing against a Baker who's all hurt.
Yeah.
And he's not a good quarterback. I was
yeah.
Maybe I should read an handout before I get in trouble by people.
That's okay. Well, as we finish up with the hot plays of Week 11, we do have a hot deal for you. So this is 2 things on this. Parlay Play. We mentioned it again. ParlayPlay.io. So it's like Prize Picks. It's like Thrive Fantasy. It's like Monkey Knife Fight. It's player props. But they are doing currently up to $60 a sign-up bonus. So they will deposit match you up to $60 if you use code FLING. What's different about them is you can do private groups, right? So like you and your friends set up a group, and if you just beat your friends out, you win money. They also do like insurance on your picks, so like you can buy insurance, and if you get one pick incorrect on your parlay, you can still win money. So that's pretty awesome. And they also just emailed me today. They're going to be doing a special deal for some of our subscribers. So go over to fantasyfootballfling.com. Make sure you sign up so you never miss an update over at fantasyfootballfling.com, and I'm going to email that deal out to you. You have to sign up to get the deal. As far as just signing up and getting the $50 deposit match, use code FLING over at parlayplay.io. But let's get into the Turkey Day slate. That's what we're talking. We're going to give you the main slate on Friday, but let's do it, Eric. Why don't you start with those Vegas lines for us?
Yeah, man. Well, speaking of Vegas, my team, the Las Vegas Raiders, are playing the Cowboys. The Cowboys are a 7.5-point favorite with a 51.5 point total. Looks like the Dallas is projected for 29 points. I don't know, man. I have a hard time with like the one Thursday night game, but then you got to throw in 3 of them. I'm like, I just don't know. These teams are tired. Sometimes it's good.
Yeah.
Like oftentimes the defenses underperform. We'll get to that later. Then you have Buffalo and the Saints for us, it's like 2 o'clock, so Mountain Time, but 45.5 point with the Bills projected as a minus 6 point favorites. They're projected for a 26 point total. And then you have, the first game, the 10:30 a.m. game. This game is just, it'll be bad on a Sunday, it'll be bad on a Monday, it'll be bad on a Thursday. You got the Bears against the Lions. So it's a 41.5 point over/under. You have the Bears at 2.5 point favorites, with them projected to score 22 points. I don't know what to make of that game. It's a shit show. Either way you look at it, and now it's on Thursday. So
my thing has always been since we were children. Why? I'm sorry, I don't mean to offend Lions fans out there because I know there's Lions fans. I don't think they're offended
at this point. They're 0-9.
This is supposed to be a holiday. This is supposed to be fun. Why do we have to be subjected to the Detroit Lions on Thanksgiving? Nobody wants to watch them lose. We've seen it for how many years? It's miserable.
They at least used to be able to tune in for Barry Sanders or tune in for Megatron, right? You could have got one guy who's like a freak of nature who's amazing. Now it's like I want to turn in to watch. I don't know. I guess Swift is pretty awesome, but it is pretty bad. And unfortunately, at least the funnest part of the whole game would have been able to watch the quarterback play. Now you have Dalton in. That just kills it. It's like, hey, let's bring as vanilla as you could possibly be into this game, which is why I like the Detroit defense this week, by the way. Again.
Okay.
Just kind of throwing that out there as a little sneak peek. It's cheap, and I also like the Raiders defense. We'll see. They're both cheap.
Well, here's the thing, Eric. To watch the Lions on Thanksgiving, it's shameful. And I almost forgot, we almost skipped the Walk of Shame segment.
Oh yeah, my bad.
So before we get into our plays for the Turkey Day Slate, do you have a Walk of Shame for me? I know I have a couple. So, what do you got?
I'd say my biggest Walk of Shame is how bad I failed in my tournament plays, man. I did not do well. I think I scored 125 points. I failed on every tournament I played.
It's better than my cash games.
I played not many. I played like maybe 10 tournaments, and I lost them all. One was the Millie Maker, which was $20. The other ones were $1 or $2 a piece. But the good news, though, I guess to counteract that is, like I said, I did well with cash. So my Walk of Shame is I epically failed in tournament because the Dallas Kansas City game I thought would have a chance to go off, and it didn't. Even if just one team went off, I would have done fine because I played heavy on both sides, but nobody went off.
Yeah, I didn't crazy stack that game because I didn't see it, going the way it was people were projecting it to.
I was hoping,
but I still stacked that game, with like other pieces from other games. But as far as my Walk of Shame, and I mentioned this in the group chat today, so I spent like 90% of my fab or something like that on Adrian Peterson, and that was a disaster. He was released today, so that's my main Walk of Shame for me. But I want to get into a Walk of Shame that I talked to you about this earlier. So Reddit, they did this poll on the hottest NFL coaches. Okay, and I say this as a straight man, so I mean, it's a list of men, right? But I still think it's like fucking crazy, like looking at this list. Who made this list? I'm sorry. Have you seen Kyle Shanahan? By the way, he's a pretty good looking guy. Like, I'm no homo. Like I said, I'm a straight man, but he's a pretty good looking guy. And apparently, according to this list, Bill Belichick is harder than Kyle Shanahan. Like, please pull up a Google image of Kyle Shanahan next to Bill Belichick's old ass and tell me he's hotter than him. It's crazy. So I feel like I can, give an opinion on some of these things here. So Matt Laflore, if you ask any girl who's the hottest coach in the NFL, they're going to tell you it's Matt Laflore, right? I feel like that's fair. Have you seen Matt Laflore? He's a great looking guy. I've seen like TikTok videos on like girls just like watching the Packers and being like, oh my God, this is like the hottest coach I've ever seen. It's pretty funny. So Matt Lafleur is number 1. So he's the 1.01. If we're talking like DraftKings salary, he's, 8,500, something like that, like pretty high. So Brian Flores being number 2. This is like on a scale of 1 to 10. You got the list in front of you, right?
Yep.
So LaFleur, Brian Flores is like right behind him. I mean, I don't get it, but third, Robert Saleh, Cliff Kingsbury is 4th, Mike Tomlin, Sean McVay, Mike Vrabel. I mean, the list starts out pretty good, right? Kevin Stefanski, and then it goes to Bill Belichick. I'm like, what Patriots fan made this list? They're like, we can't. If we put Bill first, it'll be too obvious. But if we put him like in the top 10, not too bad. So yeah, Bill Belichick is apparently he's hotter than Kyle Shanahan. And guys like Zach Taylor and John Harbaugh.
Frank Reich is at the bottom of the list, and actually he's, I think he's a good guy for his age. Honestly though, is what it may be is of all the coaches out there, Bill Belichick is probably the most recognizable. So I'm wondering if more of the women that they interviewed or questioned recognized who he was, and they're like, oh, he's successful, which is sexy to women. Yeah, he's rich, he's successful. I guess they all are for the most part, but rich, I mean. But they probably recognize that power that he's got. So, I mean, he's probably one of the most recognizable coaches there is out there, and that may be what skewed it a little bit.
For sure. And the only reason I give any time to this list because someone like quote tweeted it, and they're like, Vic Fangio last. So I got a good laugh out of that. I was like, Matt LaFleur first, Vic Fangio last. So I'm like, all right, let me check this list out. And then Bill Belichick in the top 10. I'm like, this is just nuts. But I'm going to be honest, dude. Urban Meyer having Bruce Arians, Pete Carroll, Bill Belichick ahead of him, he's going to go on a rampage this weekend just trying to prove he's the hottest coach in the league. He's going to be hitting up some bars down in Florida.
Urban Meyer, man.
Urban Meyer. All right. Well, we spent too much time on this. Let's go into the actual games for the slate. So, it's a 3-game slate. It's very condensed. You can go a lot of different ways with this. You could play cash games. You can play GPPs. Honestly, I was trying to build a cash lineup earlier. There's a couple of things that are very questionable right now that are really making it difficult for me to build a cash lineup. And number 1, that's is he going to play? Because he had that concussion. So is he going to be cleared to play? If he's cleared to play, I really like him as my top wide receiver on the slate. The second thing is Ingram going to play? So Kamara's been rolled out. Ingram's questionable. If Ingram doesn't play, I do like Tony Jones at 4,000. So we'll see. This is what I've done. 10 out of 11 weeks this year, I have cashed in cash by going over to dfsarmy.com and going to the chalkboard. And kudos to them because literally 10 out of 11 weeks. And it couldn't. I used to agonize over my cash lineup. I spent way too much time on it. It is really not that difficult. You get a DFS Army subscription. Use code FANTASYFLING for 10% off. You go to the chalkboard and you literally piece together your lineup based on ownership. That's it. It's that simple. 10 out of 11 weeks has worked for me in cash on the main slate. Right now, there's kind of a lot left to be desired because, I don't know if CeeDee Lamb's going to play. I don't know if Tony Jones is going to play. If Tony Jones does play at 4K, he's a lock for me. I really like David Montgomery. I really like Swift as well. If Ezekiel, we talked about it earlier, Eric, off the podcast, but if Zeke wasn't dealing with a little bit of a knee issue, he'd be a lock for me. That said, he's still coming in as a second top owned guy at 40%, just under Montgomery. But I do worry, is he going to play a quarter and then his knee flares back up, and before you know it, it's a Tony Pollard show. Like at 8,000, that's a major concern. So right now I'm looking at David Montgomery mainly and Swift. Now, I know it's the same game, and normally you wouldn't play guys in the same game, but that kind of changes when you have a guy like Swift who, is going to get a 20% target share, which he's gotten this season. He's a receiving back, so I don't have a problem playing 2 running backs in the same game in that situation.
Yeah, man, I like the guys you mentioned. I've also been a little bit worried about Zeke, especially how chalky he is with his knee injury. They said he got a full practice in, but you got to wonder if he takes one hit on that knee, it might you never know what can happen. But I don't. Yeah. I'm not loving anything, man. This little condensed lineup of 6 teams. I don't like my cash lineups. I don't like my tournament lineups. I don't like anything. So
we'll see tomorrow.
Not that I don't like them. I just am like, I'm very hesitant because nothing feels. Usually when I play a cash game, I feel safe. I don't feel safe playing any of these cash games. You know what I mean? Because there's just no.
Yeah.
It's not a lot of chalk there. I guess there's somewhat, but I don't know. I just don't feel safe. Per se.
That's fair, man. I don't disagree with that at all. If there's value that opens up, like once we get some more clarity, I'll play around with it a little bit. So, like I said, those are where I'm going with my 2 in cash right now. Those are where I'm going with my 2 main backs. And, I was looking at Josh Allen. I feel like stud coming off a dud narrative. He's coming in the top owned guy right now, 31%. But to play a Josh Allen, you're going to need some type of value. So you're going to need a Tony Jones to slide in there for Ingram. Then you can play Josh Allen. Then you can, play Diggs. Or maybe you just play Josh Allen, but you go down to Beasley, right, at 23% at 4,500, and you still play CeeDee Lamb if he's cleared. So that's a route I like because I do think the Cowboys, like I was reading some articles earlier, and the Cowboys are just talking about running the ball this week, getting back to the run game, running Zeke, running Pollard. So I do worry about playing Dak and him, just not quite getting there. That was an issue earlier in the season.
Well, that's how the Bengals beat them. They didn't beat them through the air really. They beat them through the ground with Mixon. So. Yeah. The Raiders are not good at stopping the run. They're pretty good against the pass. They're actually one of the better teams against the pass. Chiefs game was an outlier, but they're pretty good against the pass, and so that's probably a safer bet. However, I don't know how big of a workload Zeke's going to have, like we talked about. So it could be a little iffy.
For sure. Well, and the thing is like when you're on a condensed slate like this, when there's 3 games, like you can't afford to make mistakes in cash. You just can't. Yeah. It's not. I make mistakes on the main slate in cash, but you just can't do it in this. So you got to really think about it.
I think Montgomery's the safest play in cash there is right now. Like he's probably going to be in every lineup I have. 6K
against with no Fields.
Lions.
Yeah, going against the Lions, great matchup. No Fields. Yep. They're going to run the ball. Yeah, so I agree.
I like that matchup a lot. So for me, he's going to be in every cash lineup I have. Pretty sure. Him and or Ingram and or Swift and or depending who else plays, I guess. Yeah. I don't know. I don't trust any of the Raiders running backs. Those will all be tournament plays. But yeah, Monty's safe as well. But then it's the same thing with if you look at the Bills. You mentioned Josh Allen. A guy on the other end of the ball who's the most talented alongside is not the other end of the ball, but the same side, but the Diggs. Mm-hmm. So the Saints are great at stopping the run. I feel like we talked about this last week. Mm-hmm. And the Bills can't run the ball. But the Saints aren't great against the pass, and the Bills are good against the pass. They're good at passing. So we'll see if that matches up. But Diggs might be a play as well. I'm not sure what his ownership is, but he's in play somewhere. Sure, I'm sure.
Yeah, I agree with that fully. You got to get exposure, especially in tournaments. If we're talking Buffalo, Diggs, Sanders, Knox, Beasley. You got to get exposure to all these guys if you're playing tournaments.
I like Knox a lot at 4,400, by the way. That might be, like I said, this may be the last week he's this cheap because, he had a big game last week. If he has another big game, he's not going to be cheap anymore.
I agree with that. Yeah, he had 14 points last week. He was just outside the top 5. I played him, and of course, it's not a ceiling game for him. It's more.
It's almost 3x though, so it's not bad.
Yeah, it's his medium range of outcomes for sure. I mean, it's not merely make it winning, but it's pretty good. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. I mean, as far as running backs, a tournament play for me, I mentioned this earlier, I will have some exposure to him in large field GPPs, is Tony Pollard. And the main reason is if Zeke is banged up and you got a team that wants to focus on the run, like versus the Raiders in a good matchup, give me a little bit of Pollard exposure in large field GPPs for sure. I probably am playing the Millie Maker tomorrow, and I'm gonna have me some Pollard in that.
Speaking of the Millie Maker, man, I know that this is a contrarian play or whatever, but we talked about this a little bit earlier beforehand. But Derek Carr, he'll be that guy that's kind of like exact opposite of Matt Ryan, where Matt Ryan plays good. He just kills your team. He scores like 3 points or negative points. Derek Carr is being looked down on right now. He's had 2 horrible games in a row, and now he's got another bad matchup. But he's the type of guy where sometimes, especially when it's a game in the spotlight type game, he tends to just perform and do well. So even though he has a kind of a bad matchup ahead of him, he's pretty cheap. He might be a good way to go for tournaments. He doesn't have a crazy ceiling, but he's got a 30-point ceiling. He can do that. He's done that before. And that may be enough.
Carr is actually coming into the top fantasy point per dollar play over at DFS Army right now. Just above.
Everyone's counting him out, man, and it's why I'm a Raiders fan. I've seen it so many times before. So just keep an eye on Carr. And with Carr, if you're going to play Carr, you may want to just watch for Renfro, watch for Brian Edwards. I don't know about Deshaun Jackson. I might avoid him, but
he might run the other way.
Yeah. Let me just run the opposite direction. No big deal.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Well, so let's move it on to wide receivers. So the cat, again, these things will change based on who plays, right? So if CeeDee Lamb plays, he's pretty much your cash game lock, I think. I'm playing him for sure. It's 6,900. I would rather play him over Stephon Diggs just because he's 1,000 less. And with the lineups, there's three games, so it's not like you can go a lot of different ways with your lineup. So you really have to be looking to save salary. And $1,000 less than Stephon Diggs, I like him. As far as the top fantasy points per dollar, Cedric Wilson, I'm sure that's kind of dependent on CeeDee Lamb not playing, right? So you literally, unless it's like a large field GPP, you want no Cedric Wilson exposure. But if Lamb's out, then that is when you would play Cedric Wilson. So Cole Beasley's coming into one of those guys. Gallup is playable whether Lamb plays or not. He's he's a number 1 with Lamb out, and he's a number 2 with Lamb in. So, and then as you mentioned, Renfro, kind of the same thing. He's a guy I like a lot this week because he's 5,600, and it's pretty much I feel like it's gonna be Renfro or Waller for that game. If you're stacking that game, definitely like Renfro.
Could get a little bit of Brian Edwards in there too. You just never know. Just someone to keep an eye on. Another name.
Yeah, for sure. And then of course, Darnell Mooney. He's definitely more of a GPP play for me with Dalton. But he's a guy I definitely like in GPPs. And then I was talking with you about this earlier. Marquis Goodwin last week. So Allen Robinson is out. Marquis Goodwin's target share last week, as Allen Robinson got hurt, 22%. He had 100 yards and a touchdown. When Dalton came in, he's only $3,800. So he's not a cash consideration for me, but tournaments, I'm going to be all over that.
Yeah, man, it's hard not to overlap when there's only 3 games.
Right.
The Diggs and CeeDee Lamb and the cash games and such. Another name to throw out there for GPP plays, Treyclone Smith. I'm not sure what his ownership percentage is. I haven't double checked that, but he's 4,400. The last 2 games, he's had 7 and 8 targets. He's had 14, almost 14 and a half and 11 and a half points in the last 2 games as well. You guys are a pretty good player, probably maybe the best receiver on the team outside of, Slant Boy, but
15%. He's 4,400.
Oh, so he's pretty. Probably better, safer play.
Yeah, he's top 10 in ownership.
Yeah, he may be a good cash play then, but yeah, Treyclone Smith has got he's seeing a lot of targets. He's seen a lot of volume lately. We look for trends like that. That's what we saw with Charlton last week. He performed. Of course, he got hurt unfortunately, but you see the trends kind of moving up, and that's Treyclone Smith may be someone to consider as well. But I do like Darnell Mooney. He's getting a lot of targets regardless. But yeah, a lot of the same guys you mentioned, like Gallup for cash, of course. Maybe both tournaments or both of them. But yeah, that's about it. I mean, apart from that, moving out of tight ends, I think we talked about him a little bit. Dawson Knox, 4,400. Cole Kmet is probably going to be low played. He didn't have a great game last week, but he's it's a tight end position, and there's not a lot to choose from this week. So
that's a good one.
Save a little bit of money.
Yeah. Yeah, Cole Kmet's the top fantasy points per dollar play over DFS Army, and got Waller just behind him, who is kind of my top tight end play for the week, for sure. And in fact, he's the highest owned this week. He's 32% ahead of Dalton Schultz. So that's the projections I'm seeing right now. And then of course Knox and Hawkinson are right behind him. So smaller slate. Kind of makes sense. People are looking for more firepower. Not quite your usual punt options, as you don't have as many weapons, right? To hit that ceiling that you kind of need to win large field GPPs. You got a condensed wide receiver core, so people want to take more chances on a Waller, more chances on a Schultz, more chances on a Knox.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the top guys I'm seeing right now in ownership, for sure. And then, of course, they also are going to be the guys that have the high ceiling. All of them.
Yep.
All 4 of them.
Hawkinson is, he hasn't hit that ceiling for quite a while, so, maybe this is the week.
Yeah.
It's been a while, though.
Yeah. It's been too long. It's been too long. For sure. Well, let's move it along. Let's finish it off with defense. Special teams. We got the Bears. Fantasy points per dollar, they're coming in as a top play. They're 3,000. It's going against the Lions. So it makes sense. Like we said, why do we got to be subjected to this every Thanksgiving? The Lions. I mean, come on, man.
Oh, man. Yeah, I mean, I like the other end of that game, too.
Yeah.
Both, if you look at the opponent rank of how, they're both in the bottom 6. Or bottom 4, actually, bottom 5. So the Lions on the other end, they've had 2 good games in a row, playing against Andy Dalton, which doesn't scare me at all. They may be a good play, too. They're $600 cheaper than the Bears.
We have no bias on this podcast against the Lions. I'm a Broncos fan, you're a Raiders fan. We have zero bias. So I fully agree with you that, you play the other side of that going against Dalton. Dalton's been known to cough up the ball many a times.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So
turn into a pumpkin again.
Yeah. So Bears, Lions, got the Bills. They're coming in 3rd at fantasy points per dollar. And those are actually the 3 highest projections I'm seeing right now. Projected ownership. So the Bears the highest, 24%. The Lions 18%, and then the Bills just behind the Bears with 22, almost 23%. So.
They had a bad game. They scored negative points last week, didn't they? Negative 4 points. So they might. Jonathan Taylor just killed them, though. I mean, that's usually they're pretty good defense, so they might bounce back.
Yeah,
they're playing against Simeon. So
right. And honorable mention too, the Cowboys going against Carr. I know that pains you to say, Eric, too, but they're 33. They're 3,300. Yeah. Well, and especially if Carr, if he's gonna throw Trayvon Diggs' way. good luck. I mean, Trayvon Diggs will take it to the house, and that's how you win, big tournaments. You pick sixes, so you need those.
Yeah, it's just like I was saying earlier. I mean, you count him down, he'll bounce back, but not always. I mean, he may have a Derek Carr game like the last two and throw a bunch of interceptions and make bad choices. So, yep, 100%.
Well, before we leave you guys, I want to talk to you about Owner's Box. So you got it's Thursday, tomorrow. It's Thanksgiving. It's Turkey Day. You got all day to do nothing. Why don't you try something new? This is a hot deal. It is Superflex. It is DFS. They are doing a $25 match with your first deposit. I'm definitely going to be playing tomorrow. They've been doing a lot of overlays. So, you're talking rake-free contests with no sharks, and these contests never field. So if you think about it, if there's a guaranteed prize pool and you're playing in a contest of 1,000 people, and that prize pool is the same, but only 600 people fill that contest, that is overlay. Like, that is the type of contest you want to be in, because you've just eliminated 400 people from the field that you have to beat out for this money. And that's before the games even start. So we're going to put the sign-up bonus. Use our code. We're going to put the link in the podcast description. So be sure to click that. Give it a try tomorrow. We all play Superflex anyway. Like, if you're a diehard fantasy football degenerate, you play Superflex. You know how it is. It's pretty straightforward.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
What better time than now? There's no time like the present. Well, Eric, that's going to do it for our Turkey Day slate. And, of course, we'll be back Friday. We're going to give you a cash game preview, and we're going to give you the Millie Maker preview, large field GPP, on making a milli.
Yeah, man. Heck yeah. Tomorrow's Thanksgiving, so some of you may see this tonight or tomorrow, but thankful for life, to be able to have an awesome family and friends and everyone around me, and be able to love this game within a game of a game. Because you have football, and you have fantasy football, and you have DFS football, so it's like almost a game within a game with the game. Like, I love this stupid game that we play. I'm thankful that I'm able to do it. Thankful that we're surrounded by a lot of people that I appreciate and love, and so very thankful to just be have food on the table and good people around me.
I couldn't agree more, man. Lots to be thankful for. It's like AJ Brown said. I don't know if y'all caught it a couple of weeks ago. Mental health is a real thing. Not enough people talk about it, and the past couple of years have been very hard for a lot of people. I know us personally, we've lost people who are close to us. Had job opportunities just wiped away because of COVID. So there's still a lot to be thankful for. I would say DFS is a big part of that. Doing this podcast with you, DFS, hiking, snowboarding, these are the things that make me happy, and this brings me a lot of joy, and I'm stoked to be able to do this with you each and every week. So
me too, brother. Happy Thanksgiving to all of you. Hope you have amazing food and eat way too much turkey, and then enjoy the football.
And let's win some monies tomorrow.
Yeah,
let's get into it. We'll play some cash.
On Friday with some winnings.
Yeah, I'm going to play the Millie Maker tomorrow. No preview on this podcast, but I'll be playing. And we'll give you our Millie Maker preview on Friday on Making a Millie. So be sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode. We are on iTunes, we are on Spotify, and we are on YouTube, Fantasy Playing Podcasts. So check us out. Thank y'all for joining. We will see you Friday. Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.